and I've got something really fun and exciting to tell you about. And it's called Quilt Explorer. And if you love quilting and you love the idea of being able to create your own beautiful designs, but you're not crazy about the idea of having to deal with complicated software, then Quilt Explorer might be exactly what you're looking for. Quilt Explorer is kind of like a kaleidoscope, where with every click of a button, just like every turn of the kaleidoscope, you see something new and fabulous. Just keep clicking away until you find a gorgeous design that you absolutely have to make into a quilt. In this section of the video, I'm going to tell you all about the things that you can do using Quilt Explorer. What do all the buttons do? Looking at my screen, you can see that on the left-hand side, over here, we have a quilt block. And on the right-hand side, we have the image of that block in repeat to create our quilt design. If you're looking at Quilt Explorer using a device that's more in portrait mode, say on your phone, you'll find that you have to toggle between the block and the quilt mode in order to get access to all the different views and the different functions, but all those same functions are there. You just have to use it in a slightly different way. So let's have a look at what we can change over here about our block. We can change the size of the block. I'm going to pop on my little show grid button so that you can see that this is currently a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 6 block. All of our blocks are square. And we can change the size of that by making it a 5 by 5, which, remember, every time I click, we get something different on the screen. 4 by 4, we can go up to 11 by 11, which if you didn't want to make something as complex as that quilt on the right-hand side, you might look at the left-hand side and say, hey, I'm going to take the grid lines off. That could be a gorgeous 1-block quilt in and of itself. Changing the size or the number of units in your grid can change everything about your quilt and your block design. Another thing you can change is the style of the block. Currently we're in Symmetric over here. And Symmetric just means that no matter which way you look at the block, it'll look exactly the same. There are 3 other choices for block style. We have mirror, where your blocks are mirrored, obviously, in the vertical and horizontal planes. You could also do a diagonal mirror with slope, where your mirrors are on the 2 diagonals. And the final option is rotation, where each quarter block is turned 90 degrees and brought back together to create the whole block. And this is where we get things like pinwheels, like we have in this particular example. Now, units. In Quilt Explorer, we have 3 kinds of units. We have squares, we have HSTs or half square triangles, and we also have quarter square triangles or QSTs. So your options for units are squares only, HSTs and squares, and when we add in QSTs, we get blocks like this one here. By adding more complex units, like quarter square triangles, we increase the complexity of our block and our quilt design. Another thing you can do to change your block is as simple as just clicking on this big dark pink button, New Block. So we'll hit New Block, and every time you get a gorgeous different design. Even if you just click on the block itself, you'll just get new blocks. So there's lots of different places you can click just to create a new option or a new possibility. Now, very important to us quilters is colour. And of course, in Quilt Explorer, there are plenty of options for you to make adjustments to the colour of your block and your quilt. If you have a look over here, we have a section called Palette. And currently, the palette is our QE or Quilt Explorer colours, which are based on the colours in our logo. But there are 6 other palettes, each with 6 colours within them, and they are spring, summer, autumn, winter, rainbow palette, a grayscale palette, and back to our QE colour palette. You might say to yourself, I love all those built-in palettes, but that's not actually the quilt I want to make. I want to make a quilt that's all oranges and purples because that's what I currently have in my stash. So of course, within Quilt Explorer, you can create your own palettes. And there are two ways to get to that page. We can either click this little 3-line drop-down menu where we have custom palettes, or if you have a look next to the word palette, there's a little pencil, and we can click on that and it'll do the same thing. It'll take us to our custom palette page. I want my new palette to be, what did I say? Oranges and purples. And all the colours that are available to me are the full range of the Robert Kaufman Kona Cotton colour range. You can see on the left, I've already created a few palettes of my own, but I'd like to make a new one. Our colours are all organised in groups. Currently we're looking at the warms, which when we scroll through is all our yellows and oranges and reds. There's a section on pinks and purples. We've got blues, we've got greens and neutrals. If I want oranges, I'm going to go to my warms palette and I might start with, hey, orange. Maybe I'll add something that works with that, that's a bit softer, maybe a goldfish. And if I think, oh, maybe there's not enough contrast there, I can either click again on goldfish to make it go away, or I can click the little red X. Maybe mac and cheese. That's got a bit more contrast for me. I like that. Purples, I'll click my pink and purples group there, and let's go with a light corsage, and perhaps let's add a wisteria and a heliotrope for something nice and dark. And I think this palette maybe needs, oh, what am I going to add? I think maybe even a red or something a bit darker, a rich red. That works for me. So we save and our palette appears on the left, and then in order to go back to our design page, we can either click on our 3 little lines over here and click on Design Quilts, or just hit the Quilt Explorer logo, and there we are. Where's my custom palette gone? Let's click on our palette options here, and there we have oranges and purples, ready to go. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. You might decide that you don't want all the 6 colours in your pattern. You might want to drop it back to 5 or 4, etc. I think 4 is pretty good because more colour means more complexity, and you can always mix it up a bit with your choices of colours as you're making it. You don't have to use the Kona colours, you can use the ones that you happen to have in your stash. What I can do, just to get a bit more fine control over the colour choices, I might say, you know what, I'd rather have the red than that soft pink. So maybe what I'll do is click on the red, drag it over to the soft purple, I should say, and then let go, and wherever there was that softer colour is now replaced with the darker colour. So you can have a bit more fine control that way. And of course, dropping or adding colours also changes the design. And if you just want to see what different colour options look like, you can try just clicking this button here, the orange shuffle colour button. So we shuffle, and every time you click it, you get something really different. And that's really fun. What I want to show you now is my Scrappy option. So you see here Scrappy is currently switched off, so let's turn it on. And what that does, on the left hand side, you can see it drops my quilt block back to 2 colours, comprised of our A colour and our B colour. A is the darker red and B is that orangey colour. So in my quilt, The A colour is consistent throughout the quilt, and wherever the orange colour appears in the block is now a scrappy mix of all the other colours in the palette. And I think it works really well when you've got your deepest or darkest colour in the A position, like I have now. Let's have a look at what we can do with our quilt design. We've looked at the block, we've looked at what we can do with colour. Let's see what happens over here with the design. Quilt Explorer allows you to change your quilt layout and quilt design by changing every alternate block in your pattern. And there are some choices here. It's a bit like a checkerboard. So colour A checkerboard makes sense. We pick up colour A from the palette, this deep pinky red, and every alternate block is a big square of colour A. And logically, colour B checkerboard is going to be using the colour B palette. And because of the positioning of the colours in my block, it actually makes this particular quilt block look like it's floating on the background of the quilt. So depending on which colour you have in there, you get something quite different. The next option, which I really love, is what we call colour shift. And what colour shift does is for every alternate block, it keeps the same block design, the same shapes in the same order, but it just changes the placement of the colours. So sometimes I'm going to shuffle colours and see, what we can achieve. But if you have a look, this is a good one to show you. This one, top centre, is our original block over here. And the ones to either side of it, same block, just differently coloured. And it makes a really different and gorgeous design. And the last option for our checkerboard alternate blocks is blocks A and B, where the block you were working on becomes block A over here, and Quilt Explorer will add in a second block, block B. And up the top here, instead of a button that just says new block, we've got new A and new B. And we can click new B to see what we get. Or if we want, we can just click on the actual quilt block and see what we get. And there's lots of different options for how that could work. If you really love your main block, but you want to see how it looks in all those different styles, you can just simply click on the quilt image and it will rotate you through repeated block, colour A checkerboard, colour B checkerboard, colour shift, and our blocks A and B, just by clicking on the image of the actual quilt. You'll notice on the quilt design that there are 3 big buttons, and I'm going to talk through what they are. On the left bottom corner, we've got the premium button here, and you can see I've got a little green checkbox in there, which means I'm working in premium mode. And the reason I chose to do that today is because I wanted to show you everything that Quilt Explorer could do. But don't worry, because the free version of Quilt Explorer, and yes, there is a free version of Quilt Explorer, gives you still plenty of choices and options and things that you can do and click to make gorgeous patterns. In the top left-hand corner, we have the share button, and if you click on that, depending on what device you're working with, it'll give you different options to share, but you can share to the full range of social media platforms, or you can share it with a friend via email or text message. You can even share to the Quilt Explorer community group page in Facebook. And we'd love you to do that so that you can share with all the other users of Quilt Explorer what you've been making and your gorgeous designs. And the last big button down here is Order Pattern. And we can either click that button, or again, our little drop down menu here has an Order Pattern option. And when I click on Order Pattern, you're going to see my husband's favourite feature in Quilt Explorer. Click on Order Pattern, and there we have Andi, that's me, for scale. And apart from the fact that it's absolutely hilarious, the reason that we have that in there is so that you can get a realistic sense of how big your quilt is going to be compared to somebody who's a fairly average sized human. Currently, this quilt is 60 inches by 60 inches, and we have some more decisions to make about the size of our block and our quilt. So over here, we can see that currently, because our block is a 6x6 grid, we have a 2-inch finished piece and a 12-inch block. But if you'd like to make your units, your squares, half square triangles and quarter square triangles a bit bigger than that, maybe you want to choose a 3-inch finished unit, and that gives you an 18-inch block. And as you can see with Andi for scale, we've got a much bigger quilt. This is now 90 by 90 inches and still our 5x5. Maybe you'd like to make a smaller quilt though for, say, a baby quilt. So let's try, I don't know, 3x3, and that gives us a 54-inch square quilt, which I think would be lovely for a big play rug for a baby, or even to pop over your knee on the couch while you're watching telly. And once you've made your final choices, then you need to name your quilt, and then you pop in your name and your email address, and then you click on Buy Pattern. And that will take you to a payment portal where you can fill in your payment details, use any coupon codes that you might have for a cheaper price, and then you click Buy Pattern, and instantly that pattern will be emailed to you within a minute. So what do you get in a Quilt Explorer pattern? Quilt Explorer patterns will give you absolutely everything you need to make that pattern. Even if you're an absolute beginner, you'll find everything you need there. So you will get full colour plates of all the images. There'll be information about what yardage you need to buy, full cutting instructions, full piecing instructions. There'll be links to our HST and QST tutorials so that you can find out how to make those if that's something that's new to you. There's really everything you could possibly need. So please come and visit us at quiltexplorer.com and have a play and just enjoy all the beautiful designs that you can create.